She cut into the steak before I sat down. Medium rare, just how I like it, not how she likes it. She always said it looked like murder. So whose steak was it? I stared at the blood pooling around the edge of the plate, and my chair creaked as I finally lowered myself into it. She didn't look up. Her eyes were glued to her phone, perfectly lit by the warm glow of the dining room. No candles, no music, just the soft clink of her knife against porcelain. There was no hello. No, how was your day? No kiss. Only one sentence. One. Not even cruel, just surgical. I think we should start seeing other people, but stay married, at least for appearances. I didn't blink. I didn't ask questions. I didn't yell. I just looked at the steak again, still bleeding. I thought about the ring on her finger. I thought about the way my mother had cried at our wedding. I thought about the years I'd spent building a life while she was finding herself on retreats that I now realize were nothing but hotel rooms she never checked into. She finally looked up. Her eyes scanned me like I was a piece of furniture that didn't match the decor anymore. Like I had somehow become an inconvenience in her new aesthetic. I didn't say a word. I stood up, walked to the door, shoes still muddy from work. Didn't grab my coat. Didn't even close the door behind me. The wind did that. The wind had more closure than I did. I drove without music. Just the sound of my thoughts trying to rearrange themselves around the new shape of my life. She wanted to keep the marriage for appearances. Appearances. As if our life was just a storefront display. As if I were a prop in the background of her carefully curated Instagram timeline. She didn't ask what I thought. She didn't care. Because in her mind, the decision had already been made. The only role left for me was silence. And I played it perfectly. But here's the part she didn't expect. I wasn't going to break down. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to burn it all quietly. I didn't go to a hotel that night. Didn't call a friend. Didn't even check into the old guest room at my brother's. I drove to the one place I knew she'd never think to find me, my high school parking lot. Yeah, weird, I know. But that place had always been empty after hours. And in that moment, I needed to sit somewhere that reminded me of when life hadn't turned into a performance. I parked right where I used to sit in my 1998 Honda Civic, blasting burnt CDs while dreaming about our future, back when she'd sneak out of her house just to climb into my passenger seat and tell me I made her feel safe. Now she was carving up our marriage with that same gentle tone she used to order Thai takeout. I leaned back and scrolled through my phone, not even sure what I was looking for. Maybe signs, clues, something I'd missed. Her texts had been off for months. Conversations about dinner replaced with one-word replies. Kay had replaced love you. But the most damning thing? Her notifications were always silenced, not just do not disturb. She had that setting enabled where your messages don't even light up the screen unless you unlock it. And then, out of pure reflex, I tapped into our shared Google Calendar. That was our adulting tool. It kept track of her gallery trips and my work shifts. I hadn't looked at it in a while. There it was. Dinner with Spencer, 7:30 p.m., Blue Orchid. Blue Orchid was our spot. Except this wasn't tonight's entry. This was last Wednesday. Same time, same restaurant. The one where she had a headache and stayed in to rest. Spencer. That wasn't one of our friends. That wasn't even a name I'd heard in passing. I clicked into the event, hoping it was a work thing, maybe even just a dinner with her gallery director or one of her artsy interns. But no, attached to the calendar invite was a note in the description. Private table reserved under S. Breyer. Pre-ordered wine. Don't forget to wear the black dress, winky face. The emoji wasn't even ironic. I stared at it for a long time, longer than I care to admit. You know that feeling when your stomach drops, but your heart beats faster, like your body can't decide whether to pass out or sprint. That's what hit me. She scheduled their date. On our calendar. Like it was just another errand between getting the dry cleaning and attending her cousin's baby shower. There wasn't even shame in it. That's what messed me up the most. It was so clinical, so precise. She didn't stumble into an affair. She mapped it out like a corporate takeover. I started to wonder if she picked that steak deliberately, medium rare, dripping, primal, to test me, to see if I'd say anything, if I'd react. But I didn't. And that silence probably confirmed for her that I'd go quietly. She miscalculated. She had no idea who she married. Not really. Because the man she gutted at that table wasn't going to sit in that wreckage forever. I wasn't looking for revenge. Not yet. I was looking for the truth. And the next morning, I knew exactly where I'd start digging. Her laptop. because there were some tabs I hadn't been invited to open in a very long time. By morning, I wasn't numb anymore. I wasn't angry either, not in the fire and punch-the-wall way people imagine heartbreak. Mine was colder, sharper, like the kind of quiet rage you feel in a courtroom when you hear someone lie under oath. I made coffee like I always did. Same mug, same splash of hazelnut creamer she always teased me for. But she wasn't home. Her car was gone before sunrise. I didn't ask where she went. I didn't text. I didn't need to. I waited 15 minutes before I walked into her studio, the one she said was her sanctuary. It was more like a curated museum of lies. Dried eucalyptus bundles hung in the corners. Prints of faceless women scattered across corkboards. A record player spinning something moody in French, the needle still on repeat. But all I saw was the silver MacBook on her desk, partially open, still humming. She never let me use it. Said it had her editing software, her Lightroom presets, her process. But this wasn't about photo filters anymore. This was about facts. I opened it slowly, as if that would change what I might find. The screen flared to life. No password. Her first mistake. The first tab open was her inbox. Harmless at first glance. A few unread messages from photography blogs, one from her bank, and a folder titled Invoices. I clicked it. Inside, basic PDF receipts. Clients I knew. Payments she was tracking. Normal. But then I saw another folder. Personal. The last file was named Letter to G. Docs. The kind of file name you give something you never meant to send. I opened it. The first line read, "If you're reading this, it means I finally had the courage to tell you the truth, or you found it first." I froze. It was dated over 6 months ago. The letter wasn't an apology. It was a timeline. A confession with bullet points, dates, and emotional detachment, so dry it could have been a PowerPoint presentation. She wrote about Spencer. How they met at a healing retreat in Big Sur. How he made her feel seen. How she realized she had been living a lie with me, but didn't want to hurt me. She described me like I was a couch she didn't want to throw out. Too familiar to get rid of, but too dull to enjoy anymore. She said, "I never planned to cheat. But once I did, it felt like waking up. Waking up. Like loving me had been the coma. I felt my throat closing up. Not because of the cheating, not just that, but because she had prepared this document. She had typed this out, saved it, organized it, but never had the guts to show it to me. She chose to pretend, to plan, to deceive me with precision while I brought her chamomile tea at night and rubbed her neck because editing gave her migraines. I should have stopped reading. I should have shut the laptop and walked away. But I couldn't. She mentioned how she planned to propose a hybrid arrangement. That staying married would protect her image, especially with her parents. That divorcing me now would raise questions and slow down the creative momentum she'd built online. She literally referred to me as a branding asset, a man she could emotionally discard, but publicly retain. I wanted to scream, but instead, I sat back, folded my arms, and laughed. A low, bitter laugh that felt like it came from somewhere outside of me. I wasn't just betrayed. I was repurposed by the woman I gave everything to. And now, I wanted more than answers. I wanted to destroy the illusion, quietly, surgically, and without ever raising my voice. Because if she planned this like a business transaction, then it was time I started treating it like a hostile merger. One where I'd walk away holding the only thing she truly cared about, control. The first thing I did was move her letter to a new folder. Not delete it, no. I renamed it Receipts_Gin Taxes and hid it in a maze of invoice PDFs from 3 years ago. Because if she thought she was the only one keeping secrets, I wanted her to understand what it felt like to live under a microscope and not know it. For the first time in our marriage, I wasn't reacting. I was calculating. She came home that night humming. Actually humming. She dropped her keys in the little ceramic bowl by the door and said, "You okay? You look tired." Her tone was fake casual, like she was reading from a script she hadn't practiced. I nodded, said I didn't sleep much. She walked past me, brushing her fingers lightly across my shoulder like nothing was broken. Like she hadn't cracked our foundation wide open and handed me the dust. I watched her walk into the kitchen and pour herself a glass of wine. The same one I brought home for our anniversary 3 months ago. She had saved it. Not for us. For him, maybe? Or for nights like this, where she needed to rinse the guilt off with a vintage Cabernet and pretend she still had a husband. I asked her how her day was. She told me she went to the co-op, did some editing, took a walk. She didn't mention where she really went. I knew she wouldn't, so I let her lie. Again. And I made note of the timestamp on her phone screen when she turned it face down on the counter. 8:22 p.m. Later that night, after she fell asleep, so effortlessly, like someone with nothing to hide, I opened her phone. I wasn't proud of it. I'd never gone through her things before. But then again, she had gone through my love like it was clearance bin material. So I tapped into her messages. Nothing. Clean. Too clean. No Spencer. No flirty messages. Not even junk mail. She had wiped the messages, probably daily. But she forgot one thing. Her location history. She hadn't turned it off. And on Wednesday at 7:22 p.m., she was, in fact, at Blue Orchid. Again, she had been there 3 times in the past month. Each time, she told me she had cramps or a migraine. Each time, she stayed out just late enough to be believable, just long enough to shred another piece of me. But now I had something she didn't expect. Pattern. I began collecting her lies like breadcrumbs. Not to expose her. Not yet. But to understand the game she thought she was playing alone. Every dinner excuse. Every outfit change. Every girls' night she claimed had run late. All of it began forming a map. A clear, structured rhythm. She was predictable. And predictable people are vulnerable. I started smiling again. Not the real kind, but the kind she needed to see to believe nothing was wrong. I kissed her on the forehead in the mornings. I made her coffee before she asked. I even told her she looked beautiful when she wore that dress, the black one she wore for Spencer. I knew because I found a picture she sent him. She told him, "You make me feel like my body matters again." To me, she used to say, it's not about physical stuff, it's deeper. Funny how the depth shifted depending on who was looking. So I played the part of the husband. Better than I ever had. Because I wanted her to feel safe in her lie. I wanted her to believe she still held all the power, so she wouldn't see the moment coming. The exact moment when I'd start peeling her life apart like old wallpaper, strip by strip, until all that remained was the empty wall beneath it. No yelling. No scenes. Just quiet, surgical precision. Because what she didn't realize was that the man she thought she had tamed was now the man quietly watching her destroy herself. And he was taking notes. I didn't plan to answer her phone. That wasn't part of my process. I had no interest in confrontation, no intention of turning this into a screaming match or a soap opera. I wanted her to spiral alone, blind, comfortable, unaware that the ground beneath her was already gone. But sometimes, fate doesn't ask for permission. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 2 weeks after I found the letter, and she'd left her phone on the counter while she stepped outside to water her garden. We were both working from home, or pretending to. She was in her new creative era, as she called it. I was pretending to believe her again. The phone lit up. A call. I didn't mean to look, but the name glowed like a wound. S. Breyer. No emoji. Just clean. Sharp. Dangerous. I let it ring once. Twice. Then I picked it up and walked down the hall with it, heart pounding like I was 17 again and sneaking out of my house. When I answered, I didn't speak. I just let the silence hang there, like fog. His voice was soft but confident. You there? I didn't say a word. He paused. Hello. Still, I stayed silent. Then, and this part one will never forget, he said, if you're with him right now, don't say anything. Just hang up. I get it. I froze. The audacity. The casual cruelty. The way he reduced me to a ghost in my own house. I hung up. Didn't block the number. Didn't delete the call. I left it there like a trap. She came back in 10 minutes later, smelling like rosemary and dirt, humming again, always humming. She picked up her phone, glanced at the missed call, and her face changed just enough for me to catch it. Not panic. She was too trained for that, but a flicker of calculation. She opened her messages, typed something fast, then turned to me and said, You want pasta tonight? I nodded. That'd be great. She smiled. You okay? You seem quiet. I'm good, I said, smiling right back. Just tired. I watched her walk away, and this time I noticed the smallest detail. Her voice changed when she lied to him. Softer. Sweeter. Like she was trying to shrink herself into the woman she thought he wanted. It was almost pathetic. He didn't even sound like someone worth breaking a marriage over. I started to wonder if it was ever about him, or if he was just the first person who paid attention when she stopped seeing me. That night, she made pasta. She laughed at something on TV. She curled into me on the couch like everything was fine. But I knew now, not just that she was cheating, not just that she was strategic, but that she was terrified of it all coming undone. And that fear? That was leverage. So I started building my version of the truth. Quietly, piece by piece. I created a backup of her calendar, copied her letter, downloaded photos she thought she had deleted, pulled metadata from every picture she'd sent him. I learned more about her affair in one afternoon than she probably remembered herself. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Because the power of a secret isn't in revealing it. It's in letting someone live under it, never knowing when the floor might give out. She wanted to keep up appearances. She wanted control. So I gave it to her. Or at least, I let her think I did. And while she texted him from the bathroom with the water running, I started looking for lawyers. Not divorce lawyers. Contract lawyers. Because she had no idea what kind of paperwork her photography studio was built on. And no idea how many of her licenses were filed under my name. She didn't even read the fine print when she started the studio. Back then, it was all excitement and mood boards. She'd walk around the house talking about natural light spaces and emotional storytelling through visuals, and I supported every word. I built the website. I fronted the money for the camera lenses. I filled out the LLC registration because she said paperwork made her anxious. She handed me documents like they were napkins and said, "You're better with legal stuff. Just sign wherever it needs me." So I did. And so did she. But she forgot. Or maybe she never cared enough to ask what her name was attached to, or not attached to. It took me all of 30 minutes to dig up the incorporation files from our shared Dropbox. I remembered the password. It was our wedding date, of course. That irony wasn't lost on me. I opened a folder she hadn't touched in years, and there it was. Her signature, her digital authorization giving me 100% managerial rights, full decision-making authority, and, most importantly, control over the studio's bank account. Because it's not like we're ever going to separate, she had said, smiling. It's just paperwork. Paperwork. The same kind she weaponized against me when she hid a lover in her calendar and a goodbye letter in her drafts. I sat with the documents for a while. Not acting yet. Just absorbing. Every minute that passed, her empire, the one built on carefully curated images and manipulated brand identity, looked less like a business and more like a house of glass held up by my fingertips. And I was getting tired of holding it. I started by changing the auto payment method for her online hosting. Quietly. I didn't cancel anything, just rerouted the billing. She didn't notice. Not immediately. She was too busy designing a new series of self-portraits she titled Becoming. The irony, again, so loud it could have shattered windows. Then I locked her out of the business email. Just temporarily. Just long enough for her to spiral, to send me a concerned text. "Hey, weird glitch with the studio account. Can you take a look?" I replied an hour later, working on it. Might be a security thing. She thanked me. Sent a heart emoji. I imagined her pacing barefoot across her studio floor, wondering why she couldn't access her PayPal. Wondering why her booking links were failing. Wondering, for the very first time, if the husband she so easily lied to was no longer asleep. She didn't bring it up at dinner. That was her pattern. Don't ask, don't confess, don't give anything away until forced. She poured wine. Asked about my day. I told her I was thinking about changing careers. I watched the flicker in her eyes. Not concern. Not interest. Just the quiet panic of someone wondering if their foundation had begun to shift. Later that night, when she got in the shower, I opened the studio's Instagram account, the one I had back-end access to. I didn't post anything. I didn't delete anything. I just changed the profile bio to a single period. The next morning, she woke me up in a panic. "Did you do something to the studio page? The bio's gone. My bookings are glitching. PayPal's not working. Something's wrong." I sat up slowly. Weird. Must be that security thing again. She stared at me like she wasn't sure whether to believe me, or if she even had the right to question me at all. Because here's the thing. When you spend years convincing someone they're powerless, you never think they'll remember where the power actually lives. She went back to her laptop, chewing her nail, muttering to herself, while I made coffee and hummed. Not because I was happy, but because I finally understood her. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing control. And piece by piece, I was handing her exactly that, under the guise of technical glitches and timing issues. She still hadn't put the pieces together. But she would. Soon. Because what she didn't know yet, what she'd never bothered to ask, was that the studio she built to escape me was legally, financially, and digitally mine. And I was no longer in the business of saving it. It was an email from a bride named Elena that pushed everything off the edge. I was at work when it came in. Yes, I still worked full-time, unlike her. My lunch break had just started when I opened the studio inbox on my phone out of habit. The subject line read, "Please confirm our session, urgent." I tapped it open. Inside was a frantic message from a woman who had booked a pre-wedding shoot with my wife 3 months ago. She said she'd sent a deposit. She had the receipt. She had the date marked. She had the dress, the location, the hairstylist, the videographer, the sunset window she paid extra for. But she hadn't heard from her in over 3 weeks. No confirmation. No follow-up. Nothing. She ended the email with something that stuck with me longer than I expected. I trusted her. This was supposed to be a forever memory. It hit me in a strange way. I thought, me too, Elena. Me too. I could have responded. I could have played dumb. But I didn't. I starred the email and left it unread for her. Because this time, I wasn't going to fix it. This time, she would walk into her own negligence like a minefield. When I got home, she was in the living room, frantically typing. I knew without asking that something had cracked. Her hair was up in a rushed bun. She was wearing sweatpants, not aesthetic ones, real ones, the kind she used to call energy-draining clothes. The glow she used to carry had dulled. Her empire had stopped humming. "Something's wrong with the booking system," she muttered, barely glancing up. "Elena's freaking out. I swear I confirmed her shoot. I don't know what's happening. I think the system reset or glitched or something. It's like my calendar is missing blocks. Have you seen anything weird?" I walked to the kitchen, poured myself water, sipped. Then I turned and said, "Weird. You might want to check your backend access. Could be a permissions issue." She stared at me, puzzled. "Permissions? What do you mean?" I shrugged. "Not sure. You know how tech stuff goes." She opened her mouth, like she wanted to ask something else, something specific, but stopped. Instead, she nodded, thanked me, and returned to her screen, typing more aggressively this time. I watched her spiral for the next 3 days. Emails piling up, clients getting confused. One even posted on her public Instagram, asking if she was okay, a gentle way of asking, "Why are you ignoring me?" She deleted the comment. Then she changed the comment settings altogether. Then she posted a cryptic black and white photo of a misty forest with the caption, "Sometimes we outgrow what we thought we needed to survive." The likes were low. The comments were off. Her illusion was cracking in real time, and I didn't have to lift a finger. I just stood beside her, offering her water, holding her when she sighed, saying things like, "It'll pass, you always bounce back." Because that's what she wanted, comfort, not confrontation. And I gave it to her. But inside, I was watching the slow, exquisite implosion of a narrative she had built on curated deception. She still hadn't guessed that I was behind the fog. That every failure, every glitch, every missing calendar item was me. Not deleting, not destroying, just shifting things subtly enough that she questioned herself. And when people question themselves long enough, they begin to fall apart. The final crack happened at 2:13 a.m. that night. I woke up to her pacing. I heard her muttering numbers to herself, looking at her laptop, refreshing the page. I stayed still in bed, breathing slowly, letting her believe I was asleep. I heard her whisper, "What is happening?" And that whisper, so small, so raw, was the first honest thing she'd said in months. She was unraveling, not because I exposed her, but because I finally stopped saving her from herself. And tomorrow, she'd find out the studio account had been flagged for verification by the payment processor. Because I submitted a formal request under my legal right as managing partner. And they would pause all payouts, pending ownership clarification. She'd open her banking app and find zeros. Not because I drained it, but because I froze it. And this time, she would have to ask me directly if she wanted anything back. And when she did, I'd ask her the one question she always avoided. "Do you remember what you said over dinner that night?" The morning she finally asked me what was going on, she didn't yell. She didn't cry. She didn't accuse. She just stood in the doorway, barefoot in an oversized sweater, holding her phone like it weighed 50 pounds. Her voice was dry. Not sad. Not scared. Just hollow. "Why can't I access my account?" I was already dressed. My bag was packed. My keys were on the table. I didn't look up right away. I just sipped my coffee and gave her what she always gave me. A pause long enough to make her question everything. Then I said, because it was never just yours. She blinked. I could see her replaying every missed email, every error message, every blocked payment, every glitch, realizing they weren't glitches. They were gentle, calculated reminders that she had built her life with my hands holding the base. And now those hands were gone. I don't understand, she said. But she did. She just didn't want to say it out loud. I stood up, calm, collected, and walked past her into the studio. The letter she wrote, the one I found months ago, was sitting on her desk, printed, unfolded, waiting. I read it, I said. She didn't ask which letter. She knew. She sat down slowly, like her knees gave out. I continued. You wanted to stay married for appearances. You said I made you invisible, that you felt like you were pretending. But the truth is, you weren't pretending. You were hiding. And now there's nothing left to hide behind. Her mouth opened slightly, like she wanted to say something. Maybe an apology. Maybe a lie. But no words came. Just silence. And that was her final answer. No confession. No denial. Just emptiness. I placed a manila folder on the desk. Inside, the ownership documents, the new banking details, the formal withdrawal of my partnership, effective immediately. She'd keep the brand, the clients, the equipment, but not the man holding the weight of it anymore. It's yours now, I said. All of it. The pressure, the mess, the consequences. You don't have to pretend anymore. She looked at me, really looked, for the first time in what felt like years. Where will you go? She whispered. I smiled. A real one. Small but real. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere nobody knows me as someone's husband. Maybe I'll start painting again. Or fishing. Or nothing. Maybe I'll just breathe. She didn't follow me to the door. She didn't beg. And as I walked out of the house we made, into the morning sun that somehow looked different now, I felt no regret. No hate. No grief. Just relief. That I didn't yell. That I didn't break. That I chose myself before she could unmake me further. And the best part? The silence that followed me wasn't empty. It was peace. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of remembering exactly who I was before I became the background in someone else's story. And this time, I was going to write my own.